Hey, welcome back to another unboxing video. Today I have an order that I just received from Mile High Comics, and I haven't done an unboxing of a Mile High shipment before, or really talked about how I use Mile High as part of my collection. So this again will be part unboxing, part screening, where we'll go through the books. But first we'll get the package open and we'll take a look and see just how typically comic books from Mile High arrive. So you have the option when buying from Mile High to choose USPS or FedEx. The orders that I place with Mile High, they are, I used to call them FOMO orders. And in some cases they were, but really these are orders of comics that are definitely selling, I would say, right around fair market value. When you factor in the discount, and they run discounts from anywhere from 40 to 60%, depending on, I guess, the seasons or whatever holiday they feel like running their discounts on. More typically, it's 40%. I think their 60% sale is ending soon, and that's what this order, I placed this order with that 60% discount. So what do I mean by, a FOMO order, so to speak? And I'll start to go ahead and open the box so you can see. But what I typically order from them are books that either I'm targeting in my collection, books that are being talked about, but people are just straight up refusing to order off of Mile High because they're, quote, too expensive, or books that are a little bit either under the radar or not really a key book, and trying to get them at a high grade or even sneak a 9.8 out of it, so that you can turn around and get it graded and make a nice profit on your purchase. So let me get the rest of this box open. And they're shipping this in like some sort of previews or diamond box. I did not order that many books, or at least I didn't think I did. Look, packing peanuts. Everybody's favorite. So let me try and get the books out of here, because I don't think it was that many. And I think what they've done is they kind of double pack. So this is their typical mailer. And in my experience, try and get this out of here, make a little bit more room. So that should be all. Get rid of the box. Oh, a couple packing peanuts snuck out. Get you out of here too. So this box, this is their mailer that they typically use. And a lot of times when you order books, this is how they arrive, with the shipping label right on it. Maybe some additional packing somewhere. I don't know. When you place an order above a certain amount, I think then they sort of double pack it, which again, I appreciate. This box looks brand new, this outer packing. Then inside is another story, which they will use. I'm going to almost slice my arm there. They will use bubble wrap, which is great. But sometimes the books don't have backing boards, because they're just pulling them out of their fantastically oversized giant warehouse. And those books don't always, especially if you're buying older books that have been in the warehouse a while, they're not always properly stored. Now, kind of back to what I order from Mile High and why I do, and why I spend as much money as I do with Mile High. It is because I want a high grade book. I know everybody's all about dollar bins and going to cons and finding all these great books really cheap, walking over to random tables and seeing a $500 book just laying there and they just pick it up for $1. I can't do that like everybody brags about on YouTube. I actually have to go and spend the money to get the higher grade books. And there is one book in here that I keep targeting, and I don't have what I would call a no-brainer 9.8 to send in. I think the one I have is a 9.6 that needs a little bit of a pressing or a fixing up or a touching up, and then it could potentially get it. The other one I think is a 9.2 or a 9.4. So what I'm trying to do is obviously get this book in a 9.8. So I end up buying books under the near mint column in from Mile High, and it's kind of a gamble. So I have a friend on Twitter that we correspond quite a bit over purchasing books off of Mile High, and we kind of trade our stories and talk about things that we're looking at or things that we're trying to buy, some deals here or there, and we kind of, instead of talking about it as like a FOMO order, we talk about it as the Mile High mystery box. So obviously the books inside are not a mystery, but what's a mystery are the grades. So even though you're saying it's a 9.4 mint, or near mint rather, you're hoping that it's at least that. The gamble is you don't always know what Mile High calls a near mint book, and I have stats on this that you can look up on moneyballcomics.com, and I can share, and you'll see in the screening some of their stats. But at any rate, that's the mystery of the Mile High mystery box, is the actual grade, the condition of the books, because you have a chance at buying a book that you really, really want and getting it in a 9.8. And so in that case, it is worth the money that you spend. So I'll go through the books that I get quickly, and then we'll get to the screening so that you can see just exactly what condition the books are in, and maybe a little bit why I bought them. This is Dr. Aphra's first series, Dr. Aphra 15. I'm a big believer in Dr. Aphra. I have her first appearance, and one of the things that I had been speculating on myself is her first series and key books in the series, and also just really great covers. We're all about the covers now, and did we forget some covers from a few years ago already, potentially? I believe this is Ashley Willett is the artist. I'll have to go back and check. But really, really nice covers from that first Dr. Aphra series. So I went through and picked up a few of these books from her first series. Let me zoom in a little bit. There we go. Here is Fantastic Four 248. I can already tell there's a wrapping issue there. Not quite a clean wrap. That's also part of the mystery. You get a lot of miswrap books from Mile High that you wouldn't normally pick out, but I really love this John Byrne cover. I did not have issue 248, at least I don't believe so, as part of my collection. So I wanted to grab that. X-Men 154. Again, you've got that N' mint designation from Mile High. Wrapping looks pretty clean. I can already tell it's probably not a 9.8, but very, very clean. The spine looks great, even in the bag. So these are sort of the books that I get where I try and get near mint. And again, I'm paying fair market value for a raw book in that near mint condition. But the gamble is, will they end up being a 9.8? And sometimes, I think the percentage, it's 1 in 4 books end up being a 9.8. You just don't know which of the 4. Here's Dr. Aphra 27. Again, there's no board on this. This is what I'm talking about. Sometimes you get this. And what's astonishing is a lot of times the ones without the board are the 9.8s. So again, we'll take these out of the bag and look at them a little bit more closely. But this is a great cover, Dr. Aphra 27. Here is X-Men, part of the original Inferno. This is issue 241. Really horribly miswrapped. So that's always disappointing to me. Definitely in need of a press. I can already tell there's massive curling there along the spine. So, swung and missed on that one. Here is Fantastic Four 240. Inhumans Black Bolt cover, John Byrne art. Another book just trying to fill out the Fantastic Four run there. Again, all near mint. But what does that mean? We'll figure that out. Here is Dr. Aphra 14, just trying to go back and fill out the run from her first series. No board. We'll see if that ends up being a 9.8. And here's one of the books that Comic Citizen on Twitter, if you're not following him, he's a great follow. Really looking at a lot of Bronze Age goodness, and also just some investment pieces, things that he's picked up and slabbed or purchased slabbed. Another really poorly wrapped cover. What are you going to do? It is what it is. That's not going to knock the grade out, but if I'm looking to slab and display this, this is again got some curling issues. But kind of a fun Black Knight cover. He and I were talking about this, and then I realized after I bought it that I already have this book. But again, we'll compare, or I will compare, I guess, offline the two and see which one is in better condition. But Black Knight coming in Eternals is going to be a big deal. Very cool Avengers cover. Black Knight and anniversary issue 225. Every 25 issues was an anniversary issue back in those days. Here's another book, Avengers 350. Got Black Knight, Hercules, some of these Avengers that are going to come into the MCU at some point, and along with the Starjammers, which again could make an appearance. But I wanted to get a copy of 350. Sorry, the focus is a lot out of whack there. Again, all near mint. And this was one of the key books that I wanted to get. This is Dr. Aphra 18. And I love the cover. I love the art here. I think the facial expressions are great. The figure work, the colors, this cover just popped for me for some reason. But more importantly, it has Hera on the cover. So we all feel pretty strongly that Rebels are coming into live action. We just don't know exactly when and where. Mandalorian Season 3 should be crazy. It would not shock me if the Rebels made an appearance, or at least Sabine did. But I feel like Hera's going to be a player at some point. So the fact that we have Aphra and Hera on the cover, is this one of those first meetings on a cover? I don't know. I'm not really into that. But from a slab art perspective of two prominent key future Star Wars characters, I have a feeling that this book is going to be great in the long run. All right, let's see. Before I give this last one away, I'm going to flip this over and look at this one. More Dr. Aphra. This is Dr. Aphra 30. I think I just liked the cover on this one and was just kind of filling out the run here. But this book was definitely the biggest in terms of cost in this order. This will be my third copy. My fingers are crossed that it is of a 9.8 quality. And I'm a big believer of this book. I am not a fan of late printings, but I am in this case just because the first printing is out of reach for me right now anyway. It is Ultimate Fallout 4, the second print. So I like the second print. I like the fact that it's a fuller picture of Miles. I like that it's more or less the same cover. It does have the second print variant issue right there that you can see. But from, I would say, the perspective of looking at Ultimate Fallout 4 first print, I don't want to get into the significance and importance of Miles. I think we all agree that he is probably the most significant young Marvel hero. And it's just a matter of what will they do with him in the MCU. There's no doubt about it that he's popular, he's great. I think the interesting debate will be about his early books as he progresses in the MCU. I'm not going to speculate on the value of this book. I'm just saying I like this one. I would like to have the first print. I don't believe that this book should be more valuable or should be, that this is undervalued or underappreciated. I don't believe that. What I believe is that I think that the first and second print, along with the Djurjevic 1 and 25, like those three really kind of as a trifecta, along with some other key early issues and covers. Like if you're a Miles collector and a Miles speculator, I do believe that you can't ignore the second print as having some value and significance. So the first print slabbed in a 9.8 is just out of my league at this point. So the second print is the next best thing for me right now. And I am trying as best I can to find a copy of this as clean as possible in a 9.8. I'm kind of talking and secretly sort of looking over the book. The only thing I see is maybe some issue right in there, and I'm hoping that's just on the bag, some little discoloration there in the title. But from a spine perspective, it looks promising. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to go through the screening now of each book, and we'll get those logged into the system and see how they turn out. And that's the big mystery around ordering from Mile High, is which of these books are going to end up screened by me as a 9.8 that I could potentially send off to CGC or CBCS. So let's get to the screening. All right, so I graded a few of these books already, but I wanted to jump ahead and get to something a little bit more interesting, and this is Dr. Aphra 27. So let me go back just for a moment and kind of walk through a few of the books that I started with Dr. Aphra. I really love these great Ashley Willett covers, 15, 18, and 30. 15 graded at a 9.6 with a press, 18 graded as a 9.8, and 30 graded as a 9.4 with a press. 15 is probably the most significant book, but 18 is the cover that I like the most at this point out of the Dr. Aphra books I did pick up. Again, I think Hera's going to be a big player. Love the two of them on the cover. So these three books I graded and rebagged already, and I'll show you kind of quickly. Here they are in the spreadsheet. So right now, Mile High has a 9.6 average, since we have a 9.4, 9.6, and 9.8 out of 3 books, with a 33% chance of 1 in 3 of a 9.8. What's interesting now is I did get a couple of books in here that did not have the backing board. So what I want to find out is, how did the books grade without the board? A lot of times with these bags from Mile High, they have this flap, which sometimes makes it hard to, you can see right here, although it's clear, it's hard to pull the book out without hitting the flap. It's folded over and kind of mashed here. You know, I can't stand it, but also it's kind of necessary to find the books there that you want. Nobody's perfect, but I'm going to try my best to sort of angle and fold the book and slide it out, which I did get it on this case, and then get the rest of the book out of this bag and toss the bag aside. I'm not keeping any of these with the Mile High sticker on it. That'll just damage the book in the long run. So another Ashley Willett cover. She's had a great run of covers in the series, and let's take a look. So first glance, bottom right corner looks good, edge looks good. Here, corner looks really nice and sharp. Just a tiny bit of splitting. We'll take a look at it on the back and see. Spine looks really good, really nice. I'm trying to decide, do I see something here? I don't believe so. I think that's just the normal curvature of the spine. That's okay. Corner up there looks sharp. So far, it looks like a 9.8. I'm just kind of moving it back and forth in the light. Looks pretty good. Let's look at the back. And then the first thing I want to do is look at that corner. It did look like there was an issue, but the issue is more in the back. So that's where you're getting a lot of the softening, even just a little bit of color rub down here. Right on that corner. Everything else is super nice. I don't really see any other problems with the book. So I feel like this is a 9.8. It does have a slight curl on the back, up and down. This is tough. I'm seeing more issues on the back because of the darker cover than I am on the front. There's something right there too. So it's going to be a 9.6, but I think I would say I would want to potentially, I don't know if I would press this one, not now that I think about it. The back definitely has a little bit of curling, and I think that has to do with the fact that it didn't have a backing board, but you never know. But the fact that the curling is on the back, to me, that, I don't know. I just wish they would use backing boards for all the books, but it's okay. The front looked like a 9.8, but the back looks like a 9.2 or a 9.4. I'd have to press it to get the curling out. This is part of the art. It's not any sort of chipping or color rubbing there. That's probably the worst spot right there. If you could see it. Right there. There's some little tiny tear right on the spine. So because that's torn, I'm going to give it a 9.4, but I would still press it to get it up to a 9.6. Again, I'm not really pressing a lot of 9.4s into 9.6s on purpose. But I'm just trying to treat each book equally. So Dr. Aphra 27. No fair market value on this one. 9.4. So remember, I bought all of these as classified by Mile High as near mint, which, if going by definition, is a 9.4. So the fact that these books are getting 9.4s, it's all part of the gamble. So when you're looking at those prices and you see a book like this, would you pay $12 for it, $15, $20? You can't always assume that it could be a 9.8, so you have to look at the 9.8 prices. You have to price it fairly as if they're 9.4s. So you'll get on Mile High and kind of be discouraged by the prices, but then you just kind of, I just usually look at the price and I split it in half and go, that's what they're selling it for. And then depends on the discount percentage, whether it's 40, 50, or 60%. All right, we'll save this one, go back to the spreadsheet. Dr. Aphra 27 in a 9.4, and we're sitting right, we're at 9.55, but going back to the ledger real quick, here it is, Mile High Comics, 267 with 173 graded. 9.4120 is the average grade, 23% chance to get a 9.8. Personally graded 40 or screened as a 9.8 by me out of those 173. So kind of a 1 in 4 chance of getting it, and we're right in there with that 1 in 4 chance of getting a 9.8. So you can kind of see that in terms of the data, that the data is accurate. One of the first articles that I wrote on my blog was about Mile High being hit or miss. And the reason I wrote it, I was triggered. I don't know why I torture myself, but I would watch the CBSI top 10 videos, and they'd talk about each book, and they'd talk about like where to find books, and they wouldn't like say specifically where they were finding books, but one of the speculators slipped and said that they could get the book at Mile High, but Mile High is always hit or miss. But they didn't really quantify it or talk about, what did that comment mean? And when I hear hit or miss, I don't hear that as a positive. I hear that as a negative, like you're hoping to hit, but you typically miss. So I wanted to write an article about that, about Mile High, using the data that I have. And Mile High is not really hit or miss in terms of shipping speed, or you saw in the unboxing portion of this video, they package everything really well. Are they hit or miss on their backing boards? Well, 2 out of the 12 didn't have a backing board. So is that hit or miss? So I wrote an article about what that means, to me anyway, and how it affects the Mile High, their reputation, but then looking at the data. And as we screen these books, you can actually go through and see the books, the quality, or lack thereof in some cases. Okay, so let's look at this. This is Dr. Aphra 14. Looking pretty good so far on the bottom. The corner looks nice. Spine looks nice. Kind of the same as the previous book. A little bit of an issue there next to the digital content label. It's probably, it might be nothing. Top corner looks good. A couple of very tiny issues there. I think sometimes the camera picks up issues I don't see, and then vice versa. Right there is something. Right there. I'll have to look at that again. That could keep it from being a 9.8. And now we're moving away from 9.8 because there's also an issue right in here. It's right above the barcode in her arm right there. It kind of touches in the yellow. That one's hard. Yeah, there. I think you can see it right there. So a couple of pressable issues there. So now we're kind of in 9.6 territory. This is going to be tough. This is a black background, back cover, probably susceptible to color rub. I see an issue right there. Couple of spine ticks. I mean, we can start counting them, but I'm thinking now this is probably in that 9.4 category right there, but pressable again. So could be another 9.4 to 9.6. Would a backing board have saved that book? I don't know. It's a little exhausting that they continue to ship books without backing boards, but again, I'm giving it a 9.4, which is near mint. Dr. Aphra 14. And I'm just putting this in first because I feel like it. Dr. Aphra 14. 9.4 CGC Universal. 820 was the purchase date. So this is the last Aphra book that I ordered. So I'm starting to round out that run of the first series. And in my mind, to me, this first series of Dr. Aphra is the equivalent of the first Hawkeye Kate Bishop series, Ms. Marvel, the characters along those lines, America Chavez, where it's in the Star Wars universe, but some of these books are not getting the attention right now, so I'm starting to try and buy them up and put together a whole set. You can see here, $3, $4. This one, yeah, $17, but again, $3.45, $5, $4. Definitely still affordable. And I think once we get Dr. Aphra, any sort of news, casting, all of her books are going to just explode. I think Aphra, along with Ahsoka, they're just going to be the face of Star Wars going forward. I think much so like Mandalorian and Grogu were. They had a great run, but I think it's time to let Ahsoka take over, and I think Dr. Aphra is not too far behind. All right, so we put this into the spreadsheet. So we've dipped below their average of 23% chance at a 9.8. Now we're down to 20%. So it's okay. It's going to be okay. And when I see that, what I tell myself is that the other books are due. And if that's the case, then we are in for a bit of fun looking at some of these Bronze and Copper Age books, where those could, if those turn out to be a 9.8, I'll be very happy. Now, it's not always the case, but just like in baseball, you play the percentages. And so that's been rebagged and board. Looks great. in that BCW. I like the Silver Age bag and board. Give it a little bit of a frame, an oversized feel. And that is all for Dr. Aphra. Now, let's get into Avengers 350. Steve Epting on the cover of this one. Looks like this one's been retaped a couple times. And let's see, another... I don't collect anniversary issues per se, like directly, but when I see them, remember they're often with a few extra pages, which I think is forgotten because we don't necessarily assign a book a value based on the number of pages, but this is definitely a bigger book. Cover price of $2.50 at the time. So this could be a double-sized issue, a little bit of an insert with Avengers number 1. Here's Avengers 53 on the back, Avengers 110 on the back side of the insert. It looks like it reads in a couple of different directions. So I'll have to grade it carefully here with this this insert and this fold. First thing I'll notice right at the top, looks like it's cut off. So it's not necessarily miswrapped, but if you look at the bottom, there's way more space at the bottom. And Black Knight also, his boot is cut off right there. So it's like the artwork needs to be shifted down. So from a presentation perspective, I wouldn't want this to hang on my wall in a slab. But a high-grade copy nonetheless. It is slightly miswrapped, as we can tell down here. But let's zoom in on the corner. That is actually, it's white because of the misaligned cover. So it's actually sharper than it looks, but hopefully you can see the sharpness there. That white is not color rub, it's actually just the printing of it. Spine looks pretty good. I don't see any ticks at all. Nicely wrapped. Has the normal curvature. Again, that is artwork and not any sort of tearing. It's just miscut. I don't know how else to say it, but from sort of the general condition, not looking at the alignment of the cover, it's right now it's a 9.8. I thought I saw some sort of lining here. I'm trying to get that back in under the light, but I don't see it. It's right in here. I see something here. Yeah, there's definitely, and I think it's all the way up and down the book. So up and down the entire book here. Hard to get right in the light, but there you can kind of see it right in here, all the way up and down. You see it? Yeah. So that right there, that's a bummer. That could be pressed, yes, but I don't know exactly if just slipping in some cardstock right here would press this book out properly. I don't see why not. This has a bit of a curl up and down here. It's really subtle. I'm trying not to put my emotions in this and think, well, I really, really want to have an older book turn out to be a 9.8. I have to be fair. There's also some spine wear on the back. So right in here, this light blue is making it hard to pick up, but there's an issue right here. And there's an issue right there. You can see that spine. So it has a few ticks, and unfortunately they are color breaking. So I'm just kind of eyeballing and adding them up. I count 6 color breaking ticks on the back, plus the line that's going up and down. It's funny how I see a book like this and I think 9.8 and then it travels down to like a 9.2 so quickly. The corners are really nice though. The other thing I noticed too is I'm hoping this is not some sort of stain. That one's tough. So I think there's too many unknowns for me, honestly, with this one, where I'm just not exactly sure if something is a defect, if it's a miscut. There's definitely some denting or something throughout, but the corners and the edge of the book are really nice. So, I look back on my wall and I have some different books, and I've got an X-Men 97. It's a little out of picture, but it's a 9.0. And in these cases, I kind of compared the two books and look at what's a 9.0. And that one has some spine ticks on the front cover. I just don't believe that this one should be downgraded all the way to a 9. So I'm going to give it a 9.2. So this is Avengers 350. And I recently reorganized my bins and go collect. So instead of having one large, giant personal collection bin, I sort them and label them and create lists based on the actual physical bins that they're in. 9.2. And again, that's a bummer, but I'm not necessarily heartbroken on that one, that not getting the 9.8. Only because I'm hoping the odds are in my favor that the other books in the order are going to get it. So, Avengers 350. This was the direct, near mint minus. $6 book. August 20th. And we'll get this entered here. It was in Go Collect and cover price at a 9.2. So that percentage of a 9.8 is dropping fast, since only one so far has been a 9.8. But the average grade's still holding up as near mint in that 9.4. Most of these books I definitely say could be improved. So I feel like I could clean that up and make it a 9.4. No problem. But there's no real fair market value on this book being graded, so there's no real need to do that unless for some reason the book has any significance and becomes important. But the reason I do all this beforehand is when a book pops, I don't have to scramble and find the book on my floor, in a pile, in a cart. I can simply go right to my digital catalog, pull it right out of the bin, and know what grade I gave it, and then determine whether or not I would press it. All right, so this book, Avengers 225, again, this one is also not cut properly on the cover, which is annoying, but again, this is part of the mystery box gamble of Mile High Comics, where you don't know what you're going to get all the time. So let's take a look. So now that it's out of the back and board, you can really see what I'm talking about. This is wildly miswrapped. I mean, and it's not even a miswrap. It's another like printing alignment problem, because you can see there's probably some Avengers book out there where the cover was cut just like the previous issue. So when I took it out of the bag and board, it felt very clean, like almost super extremely brand new. A lot of these books like this, you start to see where the cover, let's see if I can turn it slightly so you could see where the cover is longer than the pages. And so over time you have this like overwrap that starts to happen. This one's not too bad. I don't see that. I have a funny feeling that this is going to be a 9.8, even though I don't want it to be because of the wrapping. I'm trying to zoom in right here. There's something here in the A on Avengers right there where my thumb is under the... It's not bad though. Right there is some sort of spine issue by She-Hulk. It's not color breaking that I can tell. So this might be a couple of quick spot presses and we're good to go. You see anything else in this one? I don't, yeah. Some sort of printing or color issue there. A little bit of color rub right there by the staple. But not too bad, just some slight curling. It's really a great copy. It's just too bad that it was miscut so drastically. So that's what's tough. But this might be a book that I clean up a little bit, send off for grading, and sell. Just because they don't care about alignment when you're grading books, because they know it's just about the pressing, or sorry, it's about the condition. Right there's a problem. So that it definitely needs a press. If this book has any shot at all at a 9.8, it has to be a press. It's not going to get this on its own. So probably on its own, I think, to be fair, it's a 9.6. I really don't see the issues being, even though I'm pointing them out, it's not, those aren't deal breaking. Like, no way that's not a 9.8. I think it's pretty clean as it is, as a 9.6. Avengers 225, 9.6. Universal. Mile High. Okay. Now for cover price, Avengers 225. And this is the direct, 9.6. I don't think my other copy is as clean. Oh, I have it as a 6, so clearly it's not. Cover price says it's a $5 to $6 book. And we'll get this in from Mile High. And it's saved. Okay. So really unfortunate that this one has such a misaligned cover. So like I said, with sports cards, I remember BGS would give an individual group I'm trying to pick up the book without damaging it. Okay, so this is Fantastic Four 240 from 1981. And so far, it's looking pretty good. So I'm really, really hesitant to say anything right now, just because, as you can see, I think from what we're looking at, this is looking really good. So there is a little bit of tearing on that bottom corner. Right there, you can see that little flap of paper. Let's look at it from reverse on the back cover. From my experience, that is not going to cause it to drop to a 9.6 or 9.4. This, however, might. So that's some pretty nasty color rubbing right there. So I feel like I'm missing out here. Disappointed. These books are getting so close, and then not. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to give this one a 9.4. I'm just moving it in and out of the light. Gosh, it looks so good otherwise. Like, I want to give it a 9.6, but I just don't know what to do with that. All of this down here. There's also a pressable little, you probably saw it here as I moved it back and forth, right in there, right along the edge. There's a line right there that needs to be pressed out as well. A little bit of an issue here. So I'm starting to find little tiny things where I'm like, I think I'm just going to go 9.4, but they're all in the back cover. From the front, this is a 9.8, I believe, just from the front cover. But I've got to be fair and respect the color rub defect on the back and give it a 9.4. So this is Fantastic Four 240. And I don't believe I own this book, First Appearance of Luna. And this will go into the Marvel bin. Excalibur to Generation X. Although I'm probably getting to the point where Fantastic Four needs its own bin. That one's pretty disappointing. I was almost sure, I didn't want to jinx it by saying anything, but I was almost certain that that was a 9.8. Fantastic Four 240. Okay. This is the direct edition. And I don't think I'm going to really mark it as something that I would want to press, because the biggest defect on that book is the color rub. It's not it's not the indent. It's just not going to affect it. It's a $6 book. Book I didn't have. Fantastic Four, just getting into the bronze and copper era. I just didn't have a lot of these growing up, and I've been backfilling my collection, trying to fill out a run. So again, not necessarily heartbroken that this didn't get a 9.8. It's more that it was looking like a 9.8 or a 9.6 pressable candidate up to a 9.8, and then I noticed the coloring on the back. That was the bummer. All right, so that one is in. Let's get it into the spreadsheet. Fantastic Four 240, 9.4, and then I have to add Avengers 225. And we said that was a 9.6. So again, the chance for a 9.8 is dropping. The average grade is holding up at almost a 9.5. So I'm just going to put it as a 9.4. That way I'm not tempted to believe that if I could press it, it could turn into a 9.8. I don't have a lot of books where, I'm not getting the grader's notes back from CGC, obviously, like none of us are anyway. But I'm not getting a book back that I'm like 100% certain it's a 9.8, comes back a 9.4, 9.6, and I notice some sort of color rub. When I see color rub like that, I don't even send it in. I just don't even bother. I try and get a new copy. Okay, so I've got 2 X-Men, and I'm going to skip ahead to the other Fantastic Four. This was the first one right at the top of the... Oh, that's lovely. So we've got a hair in there. That's gross. The board has some sort of damage, water damage, staining. This massive piece of tape wrinkling. So this book has been sitting in Mile High forever, I'm sure. And this tape is so nasty and long that I'm afraid it's going to grab the book. So I'm going to fold it down so it doesn't try and attach itself. So who knows what's on this book or what's in there. This was another one that was miswrapped. Toss that nasty bag and board away. And let's look at the book. And was it preserved in all of that? Let's take a look. So again, the wrapping is what it is, but unfortunately it's hiding some spine ticks. So already just from a little bit of curling in the spine ticks, we're going to jump right into the 9.6 range. It looks pretty good at the bottom. A little bit of an issue there. The edge looks pretty straightforward, pretty sharp. How about the top? Top looks okay. There's some sort of wrinkling or something going on here. As I kind of move this back and forth, you can see it's definitely wavy around the top. Gotta flip it over. Same thing here. I'm seeing just some subtle waves, but not. The back cover is not bad. Back cover is, I think, better. One spine tick right there. Nothing else really. A little bit on this corner. Some very, very minor impact crunching there. Right there, you can kind of see in the light. Another tough one. It's not a 9.8. I feel like I didn't notice any color rubbing. This is a very nice book in terms of, I think, paper quality. We're looking at white pages. Just kind of have to decide. Is it a 9? I think it's above 9. It's not a 9.8, so we're talking 9.2 to 9.6. I think that back corner having the impact is putting this at a 9.4 for me. I don't know if I would knock this to a 9.2. I just don't think so. I think that even with the waves, that this is the only thing that's concerning to me as far as it being. See, now I'm second guessing and just saying, just to be on the safe side, give it a 9.2 with the ability for pressing. And you know what? I think I might go with that. The corners are nice, but there's a little bit of a dent there, some hairline ticks. I'm counting roughly 6, 7, 8 of those. They're sort of hidden in the white. The back cover looks super clean except for that impact. But again, I've received modern books with impact and already knock them down to a 9. So I want to look at it one more time. Right in here, it's not terrible. Yeah, I can definitely see it. So 9.2, but a candidate for pressing. I think that's a fair assessment. I mean, you'd have to tell me in the comments if you think I'm wrong and that's a 9.4, or maybe I'm overgrading. I'm going to drop this in here first just because I feel like it. 9.2. This is fantastic for $2.48. So I've got this book already. Let's see what grade I had it in before. So 9.2. Purchase from Mile High. Somebody's riding a motorcycle outside. Fantastic for $2.48. 9.2. And then let's see the other one. Oh, I don't have this one graded in cover price, so I must have had this one for a while. So I've got a couple of copies here. It's a $4 comic. I just like the Byrne cover. Love the eye. Reed and Sue front and center. Black Bolt with, I would say, he just has that John Byrne look. Sort of that art look that, I don't know. When you just see it, you just think, oh, that's Byrne art. 820, 21. Mile High. Okay, so 3 books left. 2 X-Men. X-Men 154, 241, and then that Ultimate Fallout second print. So I'm going to keep working backwards, and we're going to take a look at the 2 X-Men books first. So 9.2, and it can be pressed. Up to what? I'm not sure. Maybe a 9.8? Possibly. That would be another one to set aside for pressing, just because sometimes you see a book and you're like, I can fix that and maybe bump it a half grade or a 9.4 to a 9.6, but sometimes you see a book and you're like, not only can I fix that book, I can take it several grades. I can take it from a 9 or a 9.2 all the way to a 9.8. So that book we just saw is one of those cases where we can go up from a possibly a 9.2 all the way to a 9.8. Now, moving on to X-Men. This is X-Men 241. I picked this up. I didn't have it in my X-Men run. There's a lot of hype around the new Inferno series, so I figured instead of spending all that money on the new Inferno books, although I probably will buy some anyway, why not look at the original Inferno mini-series that ran through the books instead of having their own special Inferno. Now, unfortunately, this book is, again, near mint, and there's no way that this book is near mint. So we've got color issues at the top. And when I take a single book out and talk about the steps, I talk about like first impression, and you hold a book like this, and just from experience, just from grading and reading and collecting, you just know this is not a 9.4. It's absolutely not a 9.8. But you're just kind of, I don't know, there's something about just holding a comic from this era, and it's just not. I don't know how else to explain it. It's not really an explanation anyway. But some weird coloring, fading, rubbing issue above Inferno all the way across, that's weird. You've got the color breaking corner fold right there. So that's pretty bad. So already I'm thinking 7.5, 8.5 sort of range. That's my initial assessment. Then we start to dig in. We've got some nicks and dings on the side and an absolute nasty curl that's happening. You can see here if I move the book like this that it's waved, like almost like it was rolled here. Issues right here, I can count them. So this is where I get a little frustrated. I understand not every book has to be perfect. When we run this in the spreadsheet, everything's going to still average out to near mint, but this is an example of kind of paying up for a book. And again, you play the percentages with Mile High. If I just placed one order for this book and it was near mint, and I paid fair market value in near mint for this book, obviously I'd be really upset. But the fact is that it's with another order, or it's inside a 12-book order, and on average the books came out to near mint, and there was nothing in shipment or in transit that caused this book to be less than a 9.4 other than the book itself. So this is just Mile High misgrading a book, and it's the way it is sometimes, and you kind of put up with it and deal with it as best you can. But I would rather have this where you've got some books at 9.8, some 9.6, some 9.4, and you're surprised, or you can press and fix some of these. And then on occasion you get a book like this. I'm just trying to think what grade I would assign this. It looks worse every time I look at it, so I'm not trying to look at it. I'm a little frustrated. I feel like I just want to give it an 8 and move on. But this color breaking corner fold and crease is bugging me, along with the rub. The corners aren't bad. At least these aren't. That's got some splitting there. I always feel like, too, because I'm on video, I want to give it a lesser conservative grade. Something like a 7. I'm going to give it a 7.5 just because the top part is above Inferno. This is just really bugging me. The color, I don't know what that is. It's some sort of weird fading. It's not the art. So, again, unfortunate always, because you want the books to come in as near mint or as high graded possible. But I'm going to put 7.5. Again, a book like this could be pressed and it could be improved on, but not to the dramatic impact that you would think, because there's no way that you're going to be able to get out this line with a press. It's always going to be there, even if it's flat. So with all of these other issues that are just sort of these like spotted impact damage and denting, if you were to get rid of the spine curl, could you make it an 8? I mean, maybe, but it still looks like a 7.5, even if it's flat. So that was just an explanation of sometimes, you could argue, why not just put the pressing eligibility indicator, the letter P, on every book? Why wouldn't you do that? Well, sometimes it's not worth it. Either the book is not significant enough, possibly, but again, to me, you're putting kind of emotion into that decision, because you're using some information somewhere that you're going to tell yourself or tell me or tell somebody else that it's not a key, and it could be. You just kind of grade and look at every book independently, but in that case, the top of the book was such a disaster that even if you fix the spine with the curl, it still looks bad. So that's disappointing. 7.5. That's obviously going to drop the averages quite a bit. So now we're down. So this book on average is not a near mint shipment. X-Men 241. Yeah, it's too bad. Look at that fair market value in a 9.8, 190. So that's a real bummer. But the last two books, I would say, have the most potential. So my fingers are crossed that we're going to do well and we're going to recover. So maybe by thinking positively, which is not something I like to do, but maybe this time it'll work. X-Men 241, 7.5, very fine minus. Yeah, and I thought about, like, do I report this back to Mile High and say this was misgraded? Can I get a partial refund, or can I return the book? Again, fair market value. This was something else I looked at when I bought this book, was the difference between the raw FMV and a 9.8. And sometimes you saw this in my Heritage auction breakdown in my prep video. Sometimes there's such a drastic difference between the raw and a 9.8 or 9.6 to 9.8, where you understand that the numbers are going to correct themselves. So either that 9.8 is going to drop, or this raw version is going to pick up. So if the raw version picks up, then I can list it as a VF minus and sell it, because it's an ugly looking book, unfortunately. So Mile High, and save it. All right, so let's get back on track here. This book I have a couple of copies of, I believe. I think in my original collection I have one. So this one looked pretty good on the onset when I first opened the shipment, and now what the heck? I think this just, I didn't win the big prize in the mystery box, I guess. I want to just start right with what I saw, which is, what the heck is that? It's not like chocolate sauce or worse. I think it's just ink. It's not dirt. It's too bad because it's super bright. Like that page is, it's just popping white. So it's not faded or tanned or anything like that. But it's just stupid dirty, or just ink rubbed or something. So if we're trying to stay consistent with what we were doing with that Fantastic Four book in that 9294 range, we're kind of around there already. So I'm just starting with the back cover, looking at the edge, corners. Looks okay. It's not bad from the overall kind of squaring of the book. I'm so bummed. This one is a really, really nice copy. Slight overhang there on that corner, but really not. It's really nothing. The alignment and centering is spot on. It's great. Very acceptable corner there, no issue. A very, very slight hairline spine issue right there between Wolverine and Storm. You can barely see. Really, really nice copy of this book. That alone down there might prevent it from being a 9.8. It's probably borderline 9.6, 9.8 if we excuse that nastiness in the back. But so this is where I would sit here and go, is this a 9.8? It looks like a 9.8. It probably is. I'm not sure. What about this corner? The corner's fine. I've seen books like this get a 9.8 with this corner, and I'd sit here and ramble about it. But then we've got that ink issue, which sometimes if it's a printer problem versus an actual true color rub, then how does that play into the grading? I'm just going to give it a 9.4. I think that this is this had the potential to be a 9.8. It was that good, but I just can't deal with the back and that spotted ink to, wholeheartedly endorse it as a 9.8. So that's another bummer. Fair market value in a 9.8 is $80. Giving it the 9.4, I don't think there's really anything I could press on that book that would make it better than it is. I don't think it can really be improved from that perspective. And whatever that thing is on the back, it's not something that can be cleaned off or with any sort of substance. It's just part of the book. It's just ink on the book. X-Men 154. Yeah, it's too bad. It definitely had some value. Raw and slabbed. Wait, did I add it to the collection? No, this is something else. No, it is. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, so August 20th, 2021. Okay. All right, let me add this to the spreadsheet as a 9.4. And I will put this in a bag and board, and then we are going to take a look at Ultimate Fallout for the second print. So X-Men 154, sorry about that. You're getting the 9.4 without the ability to improve it with the press. So here we go. Are you excited? Are you nervous? I'm a little nervous. I'm worried. I'm concerned. So again, playing the percentages, I'm due for a home run. Looking at the history and the statistics of ordering books from Mile High, I am due for this to be, I would say, a 9.6. But I am a little nervous. But let's take a look. The only thing I would say is this is from a different era. So those books that we're looking at with X-Men and Fantastic Four, Avengers, those are books that have probably been sitting in their warehouse for a long time, where this book may have been a recent acquisition. But let's start to dig in here closely. So down here in this corner, I'm noticing something right there. A little bit of a hairline tick into the spine, not color breaking. Corner is acceptable. And I also don't want to sweat on this book, so I'm kind of holding it with my claw. I should probably wear gloves, but I'm not. The bottom edge right here, straight across, looks really good, really sharp. And so does this bottom corner here. I don't see any folding or any impact there. Kind of going back up and down the spine. That also looks really good. Just the slightest of curling at the top, but really nothing that that's really, it's not anything I would press out necessarily. The top looks super crispy. I have to put the book down because I am sweating. Because I'm looking at this going, as I'm talking, I'm also thinking this could be my 9/8. I'm going to kind of look at it here on the desk for a second. Looks really good. Looks really clean. What do you think? All right, I'm going to make that claw again. I don't want to hold it for too long. Just want to give it that up and down with the light. I don't see any real impact here. The top looks pretty good. There's a slight substance. Again, I'm just going to put the book down for a second. Let me see if I can zoom in. Right off camera. Right there. It's a little bit of a smudge or something going on right in there. I don't know what that is. It may just be some slight color rubbing. See if I can get it even closer. That's as close as I can get without picking the book up. So we've got some issue right in there on the corner. It's not terrible. With that issue there, just a couple of things, but the book looks really good and clean otherwise. I'm just trying to decide if that is bad enough to take it down to a 9/6. There's one tiny tick right there. I'm going to put the book down again. So this is where, again, you try and take the emotion out of it. You just think of this as any other dollar book or a free comic book day book. And what would you give it? Would you say, oh yeah, I can press this all day. I can fix this up. Is it a 9.6? Is it a 9.8? I feel like even though I know I'm looking at a significant book, it's a 9.8. I don't believe that little smudge at the top back of the book or tiny bit of color rub, we're talking about a couple of dots. I'm going to look at it one more time and then just assign the grade. So this is, again, what I'm talking about, and I'll pick it up and try and move it a little bit closer so we can see. Right there, there's just that hint of rubbing along with, and some of that's just the reflection of the light. But, I mean, it's very sharp otherwise, right? So it's like those 1-2 dots, I would say, right in here. That's all I'm looking at. So that is what I'm trying to just determine. Would that prevent me from sending the book in for grading? No. It's super nice. It's super crispy everywhere else, all around the book. So when I'm grading these two, I look at the worst defect and look at it and go, is this going to cancel out the book being great? And in this case, the book is great. I mean, all 4 corners are sharp. All 4, front and back. Spine has 1, maybe 2 of the tiniest hairline ticks, and then the back top. So again, just being super, super picky on this, but I feel like this is the 9.8. Please leave me a comment. If you're going to do a thumbs down, that's cool too. But put a comment in there and let me know it's not a 9.8 and tell me why. I'd love to hear about it. Again, I'm learning. I don't necessarily want to send a huge pile of books off to CGC just as an experiment, because I don't know if I would really learn anything from it other than, I was right or I was wrong or I missed this. But I would like to really understand just looking at that raw book to figure out, did I grade that correctly? So let me know what you think. So this is my third copy. I'm obsessively looking for the 9.8 of the second printing. Again, the fourth one, the fair market value, just $50 under 2,500, and the second printing is slowly creeping up on 1,000. So let me get this in here. I'll add Ultimate Fallout 4 second printing. I'm going to add it as a 9.8. It's funny, it just makes me nervous. Like, is that truly a 9.8 or is it a 9.6? And I feel like it's so subjective. I just don't know without certainty. And then again, I'm trusting the professional grading services to be honest as well. And I just don't know enough if those 3 dots or rubbed out ink spots, I don't know if that's enough to knock it down all the way. I think it also, what's messing with me too is the fact that those were white dots on a light blue background. Whereas if it was like a solid black and it was white, I would feel like, oh, there's color rub. So I'm trying. That's messing with my head right now too. But again, I don't see anything else that's even pressable. That's why I'm looking at this book so highly, and I'm thinking about it and talking about it so much. Plus, it's a significant book. So we're going to look at Ultimate Fallout 4, a variant, which is a second print. And they report, Cover Price reports this fair market value in the raw as $127. If that's accurate, I feel like it's wrong. I think this book is going for more. I'd like to buy this book for $120 if I could get it in a 9.4 to a 9.8. But another thing I'll share, I have 3 copies of this book. I've bought all 3 of Mile High. I haven't even messed with eBay. Just because I know of that sort of 1 in 4 chance. So I feel like if I buy enough of these, that one of them should hit in a 9.8. And if it does, I've made my money back. If I bought that many, I should say. Okay, so Ultimate Fallout 4, I'm giving it a 9.8. So hit me up in the comments. Let me know how I did with that. So just to tie up this video and close out this 12 book order from Mile High, we've got the books averaging at 9.31 with a 16.7% chance at a 9.8. This is less than where they started. So they're still holding strong at 9.4021. Definitely their chance at a 9.8. We are moving away from that 1 in 4 and closer to a 1 in 5 chance at a 9.8. So again, I'm going to have to think about that in my decision-making process of what I want to order from there. But those are the stats as we stand. Appreciate you watching all of this and going through it with me. It's what I do. I like to buy comics. I like to screen them, catalog them, grade them, talk about them. So I appreciate it. Happy collecting, and see you next time.